The Trojans covered the 14.5-point line. They're still in the college football playoff hunt, and they beat Northwestern 38-17. Northwestern falling to 5-4, 3-3 in Big Ten play, and USC advancing to 7-2, 5-1 in Big Ten play. And what I found fascinating about this game was how early on USC was really challenged deeply by Northwestern, specifically at the lines of scrimmage, but overall they were trading drive for drive early on. So in the first quarter, we only had 2 drives. It's really fascinating. This channel will make you a college football expert and help you enjoy watching games and make more accurate predictions. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment your thoughts, and watch the video all the way through so that you can get the full package. And check the description and pinned comment for more ways to help yourself and this channel. Classic, I guess you could say, Big Ten West stuff. Maybe more so Wisconsin, Iowa, when they're both good matchups. USC went on a 16-play, 82-yard touchdown drive that took 7 minutes and 14 seconds of clock. Northwestern follows that with a 13-play, 75-yard drive that took 7 minutes and 1 second of clock. 7-7 at the end of the first quarter. They then trade more touchdown drives, though they're shorter. They're about half as long in terms of time, or maybe 60 to 70% as long. And then their play number is also that much shorter, too. 14-14, and then we exchange punts. USC, they throw an interception that is nearly returned for a pick six by Northwestern, but Maiava forces the fumble from the defensive tackle he threw the football to, goes out of the end zone, is a touchback. That was a 14-point swing as USC then goes down the field in 3 plays, 80 yards to score a touchdown. That was the difference between what was going to be a 21-21 game at the half or a 21-14 game at the half in favor of Northwestern. Instead, it's 21-14 in favor of the Trojans, and the Trojans go on a 17-3 run in the second half and a 28-3 run after it's tied 14-14 from that Caleb Komolafe 2-yard run. USC is this team that, when they are in Los Angeles, just plays at a different level. And I truly do mean that. When you look at how the Trojans have played Purdue on the road, Illinois on the road, Notre Dame on the road, how they played Nebraska on the road, yes, that is a sample of teams that are much tougher than the average team they're playing in the Coliseum. Curious to see if that changes when USC plays Iowa this coming Saturday, a game we'll be covering. But also, their capacity to just pull away from teams and really pounce on them at home seems to be much more heightened than when they are on the road. They run the football better. They are very effective and efficient through the air. They control the clock. They dominated the lines of scrimmage after USC fans on Twitter were thrashing me for saying that Northwestern was winning the lines of scrimmage. And at the time I tweeted that tweet, they were. Northwestern was winning there. But really, midway through the second quarter and onward, USC just turned up the dial to another level that Northwestern couldn't match, and they were able to pull away. I thought Northwestern's game plan early on was good, but punting on 4th and 3, settling for a field goal when you're down by 2 scores late in the third quarter, those are things that are not good and an indication that you don't think you can win and you just want to make the scoreboard prettier. That is ultimately why USC covered that 15.5, 14.5 point line, winning 38-17 in a 21-point victory. A few takeaways for each team. Northwestern has a legit offensive line, very physical. I think Martez Lewis really had himself a day. And Komolafe is a yards after contact king. I mean, very effective at what he does. Has a nose, a knack of finding the right hole, using leverage, using his low center of gravity, and getting into the end zone. Also thought Preston Stone overall had a one of his better games in Big Ten play, especially given the location and the caliber of opponent he was playing. But USC was just too much. USC's offensive line had a really, really great day. I mean, getting downfield blocks, getting 10 yards down from the initial, line of scrimmage and blocking downfield. It's incredible watching them grow. And this team is definitely better than last year's team. It's a team that should be better next year than this year. In some of their final games, they just need to find a few more wins to classify this season as success. Hopefully you win the bowl game with some of your backups to show that you have some depth and a bright future, and you can enter 2026 with serious momentum. But we'll get to this later. They're still in the college football playoff hunt. So in another sense, you could say that they're still looking forward to winning things this year. For Northwestern, it becomes a tough task because you can try to play Michigan at home in Wrigley Field, so technically not at home. Maybe you can beat them, but you're a 10.5-point underdog on the early line. Minnesota, maybe you'll be favored over, maybe you'll be an underdog, but they're not going to be an easy out. And you'll be an underdog of possibly double digits when you play Illinois on the road. Definitely 7.5 or something higher than that in favor of the Illini. So if you want to go bowling, you have to find a win there, and that's not going to be easy. The odds say you're more likely than not to lose out and miss a bowl game than to simply win 2 of those games. You're really looking for one win in that final stretch. My guess is that would probably be Minnesota. It could also be Michigan or Illinois, though. Northwestern's not out of any of those games, but they're not going to be favored, and they don't have a better roster than any of those teams. For the Trojans, Iowa's going to be a test. They're 20th in the current college football playoff poll. And how I look at it here is that Iowa and Oregon are teams with wonderful lines of scrimmage, and UCLA is a rival. You could win all of those games. I see a pathway for USC to do that now, especially given Oregon's injury concerns. There is also a path for you to lose all 3 of those games, and you finish 7-5, and the taste in USC fans' mouths is one of disgust. So USC has to be careful that they play to their strengths and that they stay healthy and don't suffer any more injuries, and that defensively they are able to replicate some of the success they had against Nebraska, some of the success they had after that, first 20, 25 minutes against Northwestern, and some of the success they had against Michigan. They are going to have to replicate that because Iowa and Oregon are going to have more Notre Dame caliber O-line running back play than anyone else on the schedule, except for maybe Michigan before Haynes got hurt in that game. And that's going to be tough to handle. So they're in the playoff picture. They're far from likely to get there, though. Michigan, for example, the team they beat, is more likely to get to 10-2 because you'd rather host Ohio State than host Iowa and have to play at Oregon. You just would. And then between, UCLA and then a trip to Northwestern, a trip to Maryland, those are all pretty similar given the caliber of play they've put on the field. As for the Big Ten standings, Northwestern at this point is just trying to get to a bowl game, but USC on paper has an outside shot to Indy if they win out. If they win out, they'll be 8-1, 10-2, head-to-head win over Michigan. They'll knock Oregon down with a second conference loss, and if Michigan is able to beat Ohio State, you can have a 3-way tie between USC, Michigan, and Ohio State, and depending on how the other teams in the Big Ten play out, USC could get to Indy. Is it likely? No, it's not. I think Indy is going to be Ohio State and Indiana as of right now. But there is, you also needed Indiana to lose to Penn State, and they almost did. They tried to, but they just couldn't do it. So Indiana at this point, there's no way they're losing to Wisconsin or Purdue. Penn State was that spot. They're not going to play that poorly again, nor are they going to face a team that good until Indy. You need Michigan to beat Ohio State, and you need to win out, and the odds of that are small. But a 10-2 USC even if they don't get to Indy, is certainly getting to the college football playoff. So USC is still fighting for that. They're alive in the college football playoff hunt. Thank you for watching. It's my mission on College Football with Sam to make you the most informed, knowledgeable, and entertained fan as possible. We aren't perfect, but we hit the nail on the head more often than we hit our thumb with the hammer. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, comment, and if you're here, you've probably already watched the whole video. So thank you for doing those things.